Okay, we're ready to get going whenever you are. And our first order of business will be the oath of office. So if you can all stay where you are, I'll administer the oath from the podium. Oath of office first. All right, if you all please stand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name. Solemnly swear that I will support and defend
Swear that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
I will well and faithfully discharge
I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which
I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So complicated. So I am going to call this meeting into order, and if we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, facing the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And so, or Madam Clerk, are we able to
Yeah,
take
do
roll
the-
call?
Yeah, I'll do the roll call. And I didn't go over this little bit of housekeeping. To turn your microphone on, you just touch the microphone icon and it will change from red to green, and that will amplify. We are capturing this meeting, so it's good that you have your microphones on whenever you speak. Okay. Commissioner Manfredi. Here. Commissioner Escobedo.
Here.
Did I say that right? Escobedo. Okay. Commissioner Smith. Chair Gonzalez.
Here.
And I will note for the record that Mr. Zunino is absent today.
So it looks like we need to select our chair and vice chair. And I wasn't here the last time. I don't remember the process this time. Is it just us having a conversation?
Well, we can go ahead and take public comment, and then you can hold a discussion and a motion.
On the reorganization of the chair, we take public comment?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone in the public want to comment on chair and vice chair of this commission?
All right, none? Then you can go
Okay.
ahead and have a discussion. Usually it's, people would say whether they wanted to serve as chair or vice chair, and then someone would make a motion, a second, and then we would vote on the chair and vice chair.
Okay. Well, I guess, I mean, if you don't mind, it did take me 3 meetings to master chair, and we only have 4 a year. So I would like to put myself in the ring for chair, but also, you all are new members, and if you're wanting to get involved, I did write a cheat sheet this time if someone wants to do chair and follow the process, because it took me so long, and I'm happy to share that. But so you also seemed like you wanted to speak. Do you want to turn on your mic? Go ahead.
You know what? You're already here. We're new. I will agree with you on
Oh,
that.
can you use your microphone?
Lean in.
No, I would agree with you being chair since you're already here and you already set it up. And it'll be easier for us to learn from it and then with the chief work through that. So I would second it.
Do we have anyone who do we want to vote on just the chair, or do we want to discuss a vice chair and then just do one motion?
Just mention that Mr. Zanino is not here today. So you could also vote for him as vice chair or any position as well. So that is another option for you.
Do any of you feel you want to talk about vice chair separately? The vice chair, in theory, would replace my position if I can't do something or if I'm not here. So essentially, you would just do this role when I'm gone too. Is there anything else that I'm missing about my vice chair role?
No.
Is Mr. Zunino, was he interested in, wasn't he was on the commission prior as well with you as well, right?
Yeah.
Has he expressed interest in being vice chair? Or should we?
I don't think
Wait
he's
to-
expressed interest or disinterest. I don't think we've asked him.
Okay.
What, I guess my first question is knowing everybody's background a little bit to see where everybody sits, if that's okay. And the reason why I ask that is, like, my background is military, and also I used to be a police officer in the state of California. So that's why, but if somebody's already serving and he wants to be, or she wants to be vice chair, Mr. Zini, by all means, already knows the system. And I think that's good as we all learn, and then we could rotate accordingly when that time comes.
I mean, I'm open to that discussion for sure. I think the rotation is every year. So on the next year would be the next time this would come up. And anyone want to share their background for vice chair, or are you interested in vice chair? Valerie, Kelly?
I'm open to anything, but I'd probably feel more comfortable when Mr. Zunino was here, just so we have his voice in it too. So if we vote on chair this time and then come back to this, that might be more appropriate.
I don't think we can vote on vice chair next time, vice chair next time. So we'd have to make a decision
okay.
now.
Could we do that? Could
unfortunately.
we just vote for chair and then re-agendize vice chair for next meeting?
I think the practice has been to require it to be at the first meeting that after that they're sworn in.
All right.
I mean, I think if I'm thinking about Mr. Zunino, I think he'd be open either way if someone here wants to be on it, to be honest. I think sometimes with the school, he's had a harder time attending at times, but he's here like most often, I think. But I think he's flexible based on our conversations, having been on this a few years together.
Yeah.
So, sounds like Mr. Manfredi, you're interested in the vice chair role?
You put me where you see me fit. That's what I look at. I don't mind. Yes, I'm retired. And I'll work with everybody here and the chief. And the thing is, we're all working as a team. So whoever wants to be chair, vice chair, to me, it doesn't matter. Whoever can't fill in that vice chair, someone's gonna be there. At least I could be there as a third. So again, I think what's best is those that have already served have the experience. And for us new to learn, it'd be more beneficial to see the process.
Go ahead.
I was just going to motion that we nominate Ms. Gonzalez for chair and Mr. Manfredi because he's here and interested and comes from a strong background. And I think, I won't speak for Valerie, but I feel comfortable sitting on the side and just learning this time around and watching and seeing how we proceed forward.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, you can go ahead and start voting. That motion carries.
Great, that's very exciting. So thank you for that. And now we will open up the floor to public comments
Oh,
for
we already took, public communications.
public
sorry.
communications or public comments from the floor on anything that is not on the agenda. I thought we had two people here. Okay. All right, it looks like we can go ahead and move now to regular new business. So the first thing we have is the Police Advisory Commission minutes, and that is to pass a motion approving the minutes from October.
Okay, we just want to make sure that we take public comment on the minutes.
Right. I have this cheat sheet.
Okay.
So does anyone want to make a motion to accept the meetings from October? They were technically in your packet from last time.
I'll make a motion to pass the minutes.
I'll second it.
And we'll take a vote on that.
That motion carries.
Great. And so next, I know, Chief, you want to give us an announcement on the second item on this?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So item number 2, unfortunately, and I apologize to the commission, that a police, titled the Police Department 2024 Annual Report is not ready, so I'm pushing that to the next meeting. We'll present that on May 7th, which is the next scheduled Police Advisory Commission meeting. So I will stay up here for item 3 if you would like.
We don't have to
Do we have to
do
take public comment on item 2 if I
on
push it?
this.
It's fine if we do.
We might as well just open it up,
Okay.
yeah.
Does anyone want to make comments on the moving of the annual report to next meeting? No comments there? Okay. We don't have to do a motion or anything on this, no? Okay. No, so I just guess we can move to item number 3, which is the chief presenting on immigration policy and California Senate Bill 54.
Yeah, again, thank you, Madam Chair and the commission. This item I added to the agenda. Obviously, it's been a topic of concern in the community nationally, and a lot of press has been given to it. So I wanted you all, as the police commission, to know the police department's policy, our immigration policy, what I'll refer to as SB 54, which is also known as the California Values Act, and how that guides state law and our policy. So obviously, as your police chief and your police department here at the local level, there's some things that I think is important for you and the public to understand, that we are not the federal government, nor are we federal law enforcement officers. It's my job, it's our job to ensure the safety and security of our community. Our ability to do that job is based on trust with our community. It's extremely important. When we go out and talk to people, they need to feel free to talk to us and know that they'll be safe. So we do follow the state law, and I'll jump right into what the state law is and what our policy is here locally. Both our policy and the state law I'm referring to should have been included in the packet, so I'm not going to read those verbatim, but certainly you have that as well as a reference in case you get asked questions later on. So I'm going to briefly summarize our policy in 3 main points. And number 1 is that state law and our policy is that we as police officers, we do not inquire, nor are we allowed to inquire about someone's immigration status. So that means when we do our day-to-day activities, we don't ask what people's immigration status is. There's no checkbox in any of our reports. When we run people to see if they have warrants for the arrest, it doesn't even pop up in any of those databases that I'm aware of. And that's our day-to-day. Sorry, even I do it. That's our day-to-day operation. We just don't, it's not part of what we do. Secondly, our policy and state law states that we're not allowed to assist federal law enforcement with immigration enforcement in any way. So we don't help them do that. We don't, if they don't, and frankly, they don't ask hardly ever. But we're not allowed to provide any resources to immigration enforcement, et cetera. The third part, the main part of our policy and the state law is that there are narrow exemptions to what I just said. Those exemptions, in essence, have to do with folks who are wanted for basically, I'll generally categorize as like serious or violent felony crimes and are wanted for criminal actions. There's some other nuances in there, but that's a whole spectrum of things that are spelled out in the law that you can look at if you're interested, et cetera. So there are exemptions to that. There are a couple other components of the state law that's not really mentioned in our policy, but it mainly has to do with operations of jails, et cetera. We don't operate a jail. I'm not the sheriff's department and I don't speak for them, but it puts restrictions and/or requirements on when jails are allowed to notify federal law enforcement, et cetera. There's a couple other little nuanced things in the law that are just really not relevant for us. So in general, that's our policy. I will, and it's backed up by state law, and that's what we follow today. So there's, I will also say that this isn't new since 2018. This isn't something where the law was passed in 2018 and somehow there was a major shift in what and how we do business. I started with this police department on June 7th, 1995. It was never a part of my training. Immigration status was never a part of what we do. I heard stories about, in the jail, they would get holds on folks who were put in jail when they committed crimes that perhaps were put in contact with immigration. But it certainly was never a part of our day-to-day operations. We've never had check boxes where we checked on someone's immigration status, and certainly it was something that we never checked or cared about when we were talking to witnesses and victims. So this wasn't a huge change. Obviously, the California legislature made it a law in 2018, and that is reflected in our policy. So in general, that's my presentation. If there's any clarifying questions, I'll take those, and then you would have to open it up to public comment. See, I'm helping you.
No, you're always very helpful. I think my first question, just to set some comfortability, I think Chief is really helpful at answering all the questions. So even the tough ones, which I really appreciate. I think there is a lot of conversation about concerns on people who are undocumented generally. How is your staff trained to deal with calls that you receive on people wanting to report undocumented folks to you?
Frankly, I'm not aware of any phone calls of people wanting to report undocumented folks to us. No one's asked me that question. Hey, Chief, what do you want me to tell people? My answer to them would be, we don't care. So tell them to call someone else. We don't do that.
Are you finding that your staff has been receptive? I know this is state policy, so you guys are bound to that.
Yeah.
But generally, some of the conversations we've had here is about perception, and there's obviously a lot of politics in some of this conversation. And I know we've talked about maybe sometimes law enforcement appearing more conservative leaning and therefore not friendly. So as staff and as a department, how do you all have conversations on that, about that potential turmoil, on like how we feel and how we separate that from the law?
Yeah, I am convinced that line level boots on the ground, they do not want immigration enforcement. They have plenty on their plate, and this is not even on their radar. That is not, there's no grumblings about we should be doing this. Our people are plenty busy, so it hasn't even come up as we should be doing this conversation if that's what you're asking. No, it's not an issue.
It's okay to ask questions. This is most of what we do is asking Chief questions.
They're just watching. It's day one.
I know. I'm just trying to. I know we're kicking our sea legs a little bit. I'm trying to think. Because I work in immigration policy, the questions are already answered in my head, so I'm trying to reformulate them as questions that other folks would have, but I'm coming up blank. I think I asked you all my questions.
I'll help you a little bit. I get asked about businesses and people, what do we do if federal immigration enforcement shows up to our business? And I would just encourage folks of any business to reach out to their own legal counsel and get guidelines on that. A little nuance in the California Values Act is that back in 2018, the Attorney General's Office of, I keep seeing you look, the Attorney General's Office of California was supposed to put out guidelines for businesses. I don't know if they ever did. That's not something I researched, but certainly that could be a resource for businesses as well. So other than that, I'll leave it there.
Are there any more questions? Everyone's okay. Okay, I think I have to open it up for public comment. Would anybody in the room like to comment on this agenda item?
John Messina, and I recognize this is a very difficult matter to deal with, but I noticed that Chief Stevenson mentioned several times that he wants to enforce California law. I'd like to know if he acknowledges that the federal law is supreme to the California law, and that is the ruling law of our land. Thank you.
So, thank you for your comment. Now that we have opened up for public comments, Dan, if I remember correctly, now we can have our own discussion on the item.
Once you close it for public comment, then you open it for your own discussion.
And we don't have Zoom anymore, right? So we can, yeah, okay. So I will close it for public comment. And do we all want to have any discussion? This is one of the things that I didn't master in the last year of this part of the component where we can talk about this issue as a commission. The other thing that I was thinking that we could do, because at the city council meeting following this one, I am doing summary commission reports for city council. So if there's anything that we want to recommend to city council, which is something they've kind of been asking us to do, is provide more recommendations on the police on that. So we can discuss amongst ourselves. We can talk about anything about this issue.
I thought it was summed up pretty well. I mean, it's nice to know and reassuring to know that the local police department is standing by state regulations, and that kind of sums it up for me. I don't know that there's much to discuss. They took a pretty general stance on where they're at and pretty clear and concise as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially since it's the same since 2018. So there's really no major changes. It sounds like everything's running the way it has been.
I think the chief summed it up. They're on top of it. It's an issue that's been going on even before then, even when I was in law enforcement. But California's very, they look into all this stuff, but they look what's fair. And the chief, he has a hand on it. I mean, there's obviously from what he said that I think we're good with it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we want to maybe to help quell some of the political conversations, because I recognize, I mean, this weekend, we did have or the past weekend, we had a very interesting conversation in the community about immigration. But there does seem to be a lot of misinformation on just, on structure of laws, hierarchy of laws, and how that happens and how that works. So perhaps when we have conversations like this, there might be an element of like understanding, as the comment made earlier, right? Where does federal law rule over state law? And my law school brain is working in, I know how that operates, but I don't think it's as well of community knowledge of that. So maybe sometimes like when we talk about this stuff, we can talk about why state law is the one that supersedes here versus federal law, just to help with the education component of what we do as a commission, since most of the stuff we do is just hearing presentations and receiving them and then providing recommendations. So I think when it comes to things like this, something that is so touchy, a little bit of that background might be helpful to the community in the recordings as we move forward.
Perfect, great. Is this on? Hello? Yeah. Okay.
And this was just a receive and file, so we don't have any action on this, and we don't have any other agendized items. So it's going to be a pretty quick meeting for us, generally speaking. So I think it's staff reports and announcements next.
Do I go first? Thank you. Again, I just want to start off by welcoming the new members of the commission. I really appreciate you guys putting in interest and stepping into the ring for this. It's great. This is the third or fourth year of the commission. It's turning into a blur a little bit. There's a lot of information that was done for the commission, starting with things as simple as this is your police department, this is how many members we have, et cetera. You're certainly welcome to go watch the riveting recordings of those meetings to bring yourselves up to speed if you would like. And then also, I will put it out there that I'm available anytime, and I really would love to take the opportunity to meet with all three of you individually, get coffee, whatever, and ask me any questions you want. I can bring you up to speed on where we're at, what we've talked about, things that are happening right now, et cetera, outside of the meeting itself, just to kind of bring you up to speed. Certainly make myself available, so don't hesitate to reach out anytime. And then, in addition, right now for the May, I think it's May 7th is the next quarterly meeting scheduled. Obviously, the police department annual report's going to be brought to that meeting. In addition to that, at the end, Erica will explain, but you'll have the opportunity to recommend items as well. One item that I was going to add with your concurrence, or if you guys also think it's a good idea, is I don't believe we've ever presented on the police department's peer support team and wellness program, and that's looking internally. And so I'd like to bring that back to the commission and bring Sergeant Trappini in to go over where we're at right now as a department and what our program looks like. So super important. We've worked real hard getting our peer support program operational over the last couple of years. And pretty proud of where they're at and the training they've gotten and how many people are participating. So I was going to agendize that for the next meeting as well. And then we were also going to add a meeting schedule discussion up to on the May 7th meeting per your request. That was an oversight that probably should have been added this meeting, but we didn't. So we can have a discussion about frequency of meetings, et cetera, things like that. So, and kind of how they line up throughout the year. So with that, that's my only comments. Thank you.
So first, I just want to welcome all the new members. Thanks for your interest in the commission. And I also wanted to mention that we have an ethics training for commissioners and council members coming up. I believe it's on Tuesday, March 25th at 3 p.m. And Sue, I don't know if you have your calendar in front of you, then you could confirm that.
I don't, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so that's an optional meeting for all of you, but you're all welcome to attend. And at that meeting, we'll go over ethical rules for commissioners and council members, as well as the Brown Act, which covers our meeting here today, and some other applicable things for you all. So yeah, feel free to attend. I'm also available whenever for questions outside of meetings. So please feel free to reach out. And yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I believe you'll all get a reminder about that ethics training from Assistant City Clerk Davis. I asked her to send that all out, so you should get that to your email, just a reminder. It's not mandatory. If you do come, you will get a certificate saying that you completed the ethics training. And give you a chance to talk to City Council and our planning commissioners, and then anyone else who wants to attend. And I don't have anything else, Chair.
Real quick, Ms. City Clerk, did they all get their emails and did you get photos of them already?
No, I did not.
We usually do that at this meeting or tell them.
You already all have city emails. I'm not sure if my assistant passed on that to you, but I'll follow up after this meeting to make sure you each have been given a city email. We also do send it to your personal, just as a backup in case you look at one over the other, but we do send it to your city email, so. And then as far as photos, I have not taken photos.
And so like housekeeping stuff, we usually take a picture of the new commission members. We put them on the police department's website with just your city email contact info. So if people are looking to get a hold of you, they can. So we can take care of that after the meeting if it's okay with you guys. So
You can do that.
Great. Thank you for those updates. Next is commissioner reports and announcements. This is kind of our time to discuss like what we want at the next meeting. And we only meet 4 times a year. So it's a little hard for planning sometimes if we don't come with ideas to like know what we're going to do. So I think for this one, you might have ideas, definitely present them so we can put them out. I think the caveat is, for me, in my experience here, is the balance of it's chief putting together all the reports most of the time. So sometimes if we want to like balance the agenda to allow chief enough time to do it, that's the only caveat to it that I think is just since he's the one who's drafting generally all the reports. So yeah, I think come with ideas generally. I did have one to talk about immigration, which I told the chief he superseded me on that one. But I think it's been a while since we had use of force stats up again and gone over those. Maybe that's something you can tie into the annual report if it's possible, or if that makes it easier. But I think a nice recap on your fiscal year use of force or annual, however you take your data, would be a good recap to have because we haven't had that one in a while.
And we do need the support of an additional commissioner to add that to the agenda. That's how this part goes. If somebody has an idea of what they would like to have on there, somebody throws out that idea, at least one other person has to agree with you to get it on the agenda.
Does anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Just out of curiosity, since you all are newer members, was there something particular that drew you into this that maybe you're like curious about hearing about? Any topics?
The officer wellness that you mentioned in peer support, I'm on the CISM team. I've done presentations for first responders and law enforcement on wellness, so that is where my passion is, so I'd love to learn more about that.
That will be part of that topic.
I think for me, I'm involved in the school quite a bit, and so the relation between our SRRs and the police department and our school administration, there's been some problems over the past few years where that has come up just as parent representation that's been brought to my attention on just how police and the SRO are conquering those problems and how they're working together, or if they're working together and what jurisdictions are, and at what point does admin switch it over to police, and so on and so forth, mainly middle school to high school ages.
Chief, do you remember when you because we did have a presentation on that, but maybe there's some way to do an update on that?
I think we just did it in late October. I think Tim Peterson came in. Pretty sure. I mean, I can check. I know we did it last year, but we can certainly bring it back if it's another. We did a presentation on SRO, basically what they do, how they interact, highlights enforcement, some enforcement statistics, et cetera, how that balance is between being a mentor, a coach, interacting with school staff. When does it become a police problem versus a school admin problem? All those things was discussed, and I'm pretty sure it was late October.
Dan, can we put in this discussion, can we put something for the agenda for like the October meeting in that way? So that way it's annual, or is that too far in advance?
Well, we can do that.
There's no reason you can't do it
Okay.
if you want.
Skip a meeting and do it in the, it'll give time to add new, fresh stats if we waited until that third quarter or the last meeting of the year. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry. Yeah, whatever the one is that we did it last year, I can do it in the same meeting. I think it was at the end of October, right before the November city council meeting. If not, we'll do it in the one before that, which is August.
Sorry, we have the minutes from the October 30th meeting, and the SRO was not on that.
So then
It
it
was
was
the one
August.
prior.
Yeah, so we'll do it, we'll plan on doing it not in May, but in August. If you get a second.
I definitely, I second it for sure. I think one of the things that's been hard in these police advisory commissions is we actually don't get public comments that frequently. So sometimes what happens is we hear anecdotally that there's a problem, but it doesn't come here. And I think, I can speak for you a little bit in this, in that you've been wanting to hear some of these more anecdotal stuff to address it. So if you have heard about that through like parents, because we haven't had that on the commission, it'd be nice if you could also encourage public comment on that, so we can address it here, because this is what this forum is supposed to be on. But I do second that motion. Okay.
Got it. It's for August of 2025. That would be about a year since we did it. Okay.
Mr. Manfredi, anything that you want to hear about?
Right now, we just started, want to assess it and go from there. I mean, the way politics is running, even though this isn't political, with law enforcement, immigration, and all that, this just started. So the policies are changing, not just here, but nationally. We got to see how that plays out, because that's going to play out how the city and chief and the department are going to handle certain things, because we don't know all those policies. I can tell you that working for the DIA and working for federal agencies, they're already up in all kinds of changes. So, and those are the people that I'm talking to. So again, it hasn't hit at this level, and I'm not saying it will, but we don't know yet.
Well, I definitely am excited to have all of you on board and to have this conversation. I hope now that, like, I think as a commission, we've struggled a little bit in getting our sea legs together and like understanding the process. And I'm hoping now that I mostly get the agenda item process that we can have a little bit more fruitful conversation. I'll just say that council has been asking for more reports, and you know, there has been emphasis on the advisory component of what we do. I think what's been hard for me historically is when I ask chief questions, you know, he answers them, and he answers them like reasonably, like he did today, like that with today. I'm like, okay, well, those were my questions, you know, and so it's hard to then come back to council with recommendations. But definitely, I think that's something that council is looking for to keep this commission going. So if you all just think of a topic for next time, this commissioner reports and announcement is the time to agendize it. And again, we're like always advising 3 months ahead. So that's just, you know, a little bit of foresight is helpful, is the lesson learned that I have. I think, did I speak anything out of turn, Dan? I have to check with Dan, our counsel.
He didn't cut you off.
You're okay so far.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, if any of you have any issues finding the old video recordings or the agendas or the agenda packets for any of the past meetings, just let me know. You can just call me and I'll walk you through where to find everything on the city's website, or I can send you links to anything so you could see like the SRO report from August.
Well, I think that's everything. So this is a relatively short meeting. So I will adjourn this meeting.